Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world.
I've been looking around for salvation. I've been looking around for the truth. All around me I see frustration, and I looked all over till I found you. I sit and listen to your stories, and you're telling me, please don't worry. A lot in this world you should know, and love in life is where you should go. If you're looking for somewhere to go, if you're looking for someone to know, if you're looking for someone to guide you, then love in life will guide you.
Goeienaand, good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. Well, tonight we're going to be having a very, very personal discussion about how the banks are ruining people, and we'll get to that in a second. But first, some admin. First off, please guys have Rasul Snyman in your prayers. Rasul is not well at all. He's a regular presenter on our live streams, and sad to say he's not good. And if you could just pray for Rasul and have him in your thoughts. The other thing I just want to talk about quickly is this issue with YouTube and their moderators. Just this week alone, we have had 2 videos taken down. The first one on Monday was taken down for bullying. That was where we exposed how corrupt the banking system is in South Africa. And then on Tuesday night, our video was taken down for medical misinformation when we were talking about where the future is taking us. And you remember that one with my data and the lovely Michelle Duplessis? Well, when I saw the YouTube channel getting a community strike for that, which meant basically that for 2 weeks we were in the naughty box, I put in an appeal after the South African moderators who work on a contract basis for YouTube would have gone to bed, because the actual community strike was given at about 9 to 10 a.m. South African time. Clearly it was someone in South Africa who gave it a community strike. Within an hour of putting in my appeal, YouTube reversed the decision. Now, there's clearly some orchestrated attempt to attack the Loving Life platform by a moderator or moderators in South Africa, who work for YouTube on a contract basis. So I'm just putting that out there. It's a battle we've been having for years, and I guess it's something we'll just have to put up with, because as long as we are using their platform for streaming, we have to play by their rules. But, like the what do they call them? The French resistance. We are sort of hovering in the background the whole time and continuing to push and grow Loving Life TV. All right, let's get on to tonight's live stream. As I mentioned at the very start, I'm talking to Martin Keevy. This is a pre-recorded live stream, just for the record, because of load shedding in South Africa. And it's a very personal story. And he goes into quite a lot of detail about his life for probably the 80% of the actual live stream. But the last 20% we start talking about the banks and what the banks have done to this guy. And in this case, it's the Standard Bank in South Africa that's in the headlights. And it's quite shocking. I'm going to leave it at that. Let's get Martin Keevy on. And don't forget, tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Johannesburg time, we're going to be talking about hitmen in South Africa. Very, very topical, because they're out there and they're taking out whistleblowers and political enemies and all sorts of people in South Africa, which is a gangster state. Here we go with Martin Keevy. Enjoy. Hi, Martin. How are you? Good to meet you.
Yeah, same here, Scott. Hope you're well, and thanks for everything that you're doing for our people to expose what's happening here. And we really appreciate it. Thank you for the time you giving me to be on your show.
Not a problem at all. Now, Martin, you're someone, or your family have been in South Africa for many generations, and perhaps just to give us some background to you personally, can you tell us a bit about your childhood, school, going up to college?
100%. I was adopted when I was about a month old down in Cape Town, and I was raised by Yanni and Cora Keevy, our family from the Komadaga region, and my mother was family to the renowned Watson family. That is part of the Bosasa corruption.
Oh, Gavin Watson.
That's right. That is part of my grandma's family. My granny was Dorothy Watson.
Right.
And I think her father and the Watson father were brothers. That's how the family is connected.
Right.
And okay, so that's on that side. And my mother was Cora Watson Stumbi, her maiden name. And my dad was Johannes Martinus Keevy.
Right.
My full name is John Martin Keevy. I was named after the late Commissioner of Police, General John Martin Keevy. He was my grandpa Gideon Keevy's brother.
Okay.
Okay, and the farm, Boschfontein, post poll, what you know, with post drop-off point was called Keevysville. And the local police station was called Keevy's Post, and it's now Middelwater Police Station. And that's where I grew up, and then I didn't know much about my adoption. My mother had told me, when I talk about my mother, it's my mother that raised me.
Yeah.
She was a very good woman, and sometimes we were loggerheads, most often at the end when I was bigger on the farm. But my dad died when I was 4 years and 10 months old of diabetes. And he died in front of me on the 2nd or 3rd of January 1970.
Oh, no.
And then I grew up in a little school, Watsonia, from standard 6.
Yeah.
I used to do well at sports. I got my EP colours in primary school. And from there I went to Gill College, Somerset East. And that's where me and my mother started having be at loggerhead, because I wanted to go to agricultural school and go study engineering. And my mother said, I will go to an academic school and I'll go to Grootfontein Landbou College, which we call Grootdrink. That's all you do there.
Yeah.
It's party.
Yeah.
And in any case, at Gill, I didn't do very well at sport. I had severe asthma from childhood. And I was quite small. In standard 6, I weighed 33 kgs, and matric I weighed about 69, 70 kgs. And in matric I decided, okay, I'm going to give it a bash at rugby. And I was 4th team, and then 3rd team, and then I played 2nd team. And then a chappie from Dale decided he's going to end my rugby career, and he kicked my right hand, and the little bone on the elbow broke off. So that was the end of my rugby those days. And then, from then, just to give you a bit of background there, Scott, where I started getting, call it angry as a child.
Yeah.
since I can remember, I was packing rocks and twigs and planting American aloe for erosion works on the farm. I absolutely love water, and I like to keep the water on the farm as long as possible for erosion works and soil conservation.
Yeah.
And that's where my passion started, that I'm trying to pursue in my adult life. And then at the age of 14, I shot my first big kudable on a farm called Crown Hill. And I fell in love with this farm, and Donald Radman, he was the owner of the farm, and he wasn't a farmer. He was working for Post Office at that time when they were still a fishing company.
Right.
And I said, listen, Donald, can't I buy the farm for you at the age of 14? He said, are you going to buy it? I said, no, I'm going to speak to my mother. And then I went to my labor on the farm, the Konzapi family that actually started working for my late dad. The three brothers, Swart Boy, Klein Boy, and Willie. His brother name was Randile, the one, and Zimeni is the other one. Swart Boy's brother name I can't remember. He was quite a lot older than them.
Right.
And I went to them first and said, listen, can you guys help me with the farm because I'm still at school. I said, but don't give me an answer now. Take a week and come back to me and let me know if you're interested.
Yeah.
So then I came back the next weekend. I spoke to them and said, yeah, they'll help me. I said, then if you guys help me, I'll give you my word. I will look after you for the rest of your lives. Said, good. So we went on, and then my mother had started renting out the farm under two-thirds. One-third to the farmer that's renting the property or hiring or running the farm, and two-thirds to my mother. But Boschentuin and Marika was a farm. My mother had 750 hectares at Boschentuin, and Marika was 1,012 hectares. Small farms for the Karoo. And so in any case, with me buying the property or wanting to buy Crown Hill, which was 2,000 hectares, it would increase my profitability and my economical viability in the Karoo.
Right.
And behold, the Skuman brothers went to my mother and wanted to buy Boschentuin. Because my mother was not a farmer, and she was a domesticated farm woman or farm housewife, if I can put it that way.
Yeah.
And luckily for me, my granny was one of the very best people I've ever met in my life. She was a very strong religious woman and never made a noise. But when she spoke, you listened.
Yeah.
And luckily for me, she walked in one morning when the guy was there, and he was buying the farm for my mother, and my mother had signed it, and he had signed the contract. And my gran asked my mother, what you doing? She said, I'm selling Boschentuin in Marika. And she grabbed the letter out of Christoffel Skuman's hand and tore it up and said, skam jou vir God, dat jy my kleinkind se geld, se grond wil steel. And she chased him out of the house.
Wow.
Those were big prominent farmers, and then that didn't go down well for them. So they started overgrazing the property completely. They had over 1,000 head of stock on 1,750 hectares in the Karoo.
Wow.
And I started getting angry because, you're young and you can see the farm is deteriorating. And I got back I went to the army, 84, 85, 86, 87 at college, and then I came back to the farm, end of 87, or 88. And I said to him, listen, there's 2 years left of this contract, we're cancelling. Get off the farm or we go to court. And the problem started there on the farm when my labor was reporting to my mother that our ewes were being changed over for the ram, after the hummels, I don't know, castrated ram.
Yeah.
I don't know what the English word is for hummels and kapaters and stuff.
Yeah.
So then the poor blacks were fired, the loyal blacks, and replaced with horns. Basically, they didn't know what's right and wrong. And I started getting angry because these people looked after us. I'm not going to go into detail, but my mother was married to another guy that tried to kill her, and the blacks chased him off with hay forks off the farm. In any case, then one day my mother said, you must become a Freemason if you ever get the opportunity. And my words were, Mum, why should I belong to an organization to prove yourself? Surely you should be proven out of your own good or your own work. In any case, I never thought about the Freemason. I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
But my best friend was Hannes, but I'm mentioning names now. Scott, Arnold Porter, his nickname was Sweetie, was my best friend at college. And we were one weekend on his farm with 4 friends. And the old man had a few drinks in, and he invited us. He said he wants to show us something. He went into the room and he opened a big suitcase, and he brought out this like a black slug and like red medals. I don't know what you call it. And looked like big, I don't know.
Oh, so he was a Freemason.
Yeah, he was a Grand Mason.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And then he said to us, you other guys, I want you all to become part of this organization. But then he pointed me out specifically. He said, you Keevy, can never become one of us. And that raised question to me. What is it? Is it because I'm a small farmer? Is it because I'm adoptive? I didn't know the things around that.
Yeah.
It always left a question, and you feel half inferior because all your buddies, your best buddy, he's going to become a Freemason, but you can't, and there's a reason behind it.
Yeah.
And so I left it at that, Scott, and then I went on with my life, and I was carried on farming till 92, and I saw I won't make it on the farm. The drought and the overgrazing just caught up to me, and I started working for De Beers Marine in 92. And went down to Cape Town, went up to Alexander Bay, and flew out to the helicopter, and went there, and I became a senior driller there on the diamond rigs and on the drilling side.
Right.
Because you've got your division, you've got your captain, then you've got your plant, and then you've got your drilling side, retrieving the diamonds from the seabed onto the ship, and from there it's into the plant and stuff.
Right.
I've never seen a raw diamond in my entire life because that was not what we were doing. We were drilling.
Yeah.
And in any case, I resigned in 94, and in that time, I bought my first little D5 bulldozer and carried on in the farm. And then I researched that forestry has always got about 10,000 hectares in South Africa that they replant to forest.
Right.
Or replant where they harvest it. So I went into that business with an old man as a partner up in Nelspruit area. He stayed in Barberton. And the guy nailed me. I told him, we started the business with 25,000 Rand, which I deposited. Company name was C&M Plant in Nelspruit, FNB. I think it was Barclays. I can't remember. Was it Barclays at that time? And then I said to him, listen, let's just inject all the money back into the business for 2 years, and then we can start buying ourselves new vehicles or buy property and stuff. And my mother and myself were at loggerheads, and she said, she's going to give the family farm to my sister. I said, well, Mum, if you want to do that, that's fine by me. Just let me sign off, and I've got no responsibility. You give everything to my sister. I'm not going to be held. You don't threaten me. That's when I start seeing red flags. And in any case, sold the property. My sister persuaded my mother to go to Bloemfontein. I said, you don't plant an old tree on a new piece of soil or away from where it's grown up. In Afrikaans, you plant nie 'n boom op 'n nuwe werf. And my mother went up to Bloemfontein. 18 months later, she was dead. She died up in Bloemfontein. She thought she's going to be carried on her hands. It never happened. And my sister has been at loggerheads basically ever since, because I should not have allowed my mother to go to Bloem, because it's not right. She left her family and friends and everybody she knew in some cities, and my sister then treated my mum and my gran as very badly up there.
Right.
In any case, so Scott, that's that part. And then 98, 99, I had to bring the big dozer down from Nelspruit after my partner, Hannes van Wijn, nailed me over. He went to buy a new bucket in a property, and there was fraud involved. Andre Spoor from Barberton lost his house. The guy had insured the interior of the house and not the house. And poor Andre, I spoke to him. I apologize for that, but I stopped the whole deal with Barclays. The bank manager signed off, which he wasn't allowed to sign off, because I was co-signing check. Yeah. And in any case, in first borrowing, I reported first borrowing that it was fraudulent activity on the insurance side, and then they didn't pay out, and poor Andre lost everything. So I had to move my machine back to the Eastern Cape, the big dozer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I started working with the citrus industry, soil preparation, because that's what I was doing in forestry.
Right.
I ended up in trouble there. I found the main guy, was in Audley for Mark down in Kirkwood. I said, Uncle Audley, I'm down here. I've got no option of bringing the machine down. And yeah, he swore at me that night. And I said, listen, I don't have to listen to you swearing, and I put the phone down. Because he just said, you're coming to F up the market, blah, blah, blah. And all I want to do is just survive, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was 96, 97 when I brought the big machine out. Sorry, I said 98.
Yeah.
And then I landed a contract in St. Francis Bay with Neville Hewlett. The Hewlett family is very well known in St. Francis Bay.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked there for them, and we moved about 350,000 cubic meters of sand for a marina development, a new, call it a phase of an extension of the marina.
Right.
Then brought the machine back from there, and I battled a bit to get into the market, and brought the machine back to Sundays River Valley, and I went on 97, 98, 99, and in 98 I decided I wanted to teach myself more of civils, and I went to work for a guy called Keith Wilmot in Guzman's River Resort Construction, and just on the stormwater and the sewer lines and stuff like that, just to get more, because I didn't know civils and stuff.
Right.
And I paid a company that was working for me in Addo. I paid him 3 times the amount of money that I was actually getting in Guzman's.
Mm.
And then my big machine got sabotaged. I landed up with a guy called Kees van der Toe. He's a very well-known, astute businessman, if I can put it mildly,
Yeah.
in P. And I told him because of forestry, because we've got a Department of Forestry down in the Eastern Cape. I said, listen, let's design this pitting head. It's a pitting head. You'll know it in Australia, Savannah equipment. They're very big in forestry, they're by you guys. And they design specialist equipment for forestry. And I said, let's build our own. I said, I don't think the gearboxes are strong enough. So I took some scrap from the quarry, and I started building that, and I had a loan from Golan Bank at that time, 60,000 Rand. I got a loan specifically to build this pitting head. And then the thing was 95% done, and Mr. Van der Toe phoned me one morning. He said, you're not part of this whole thing anymore. You don't have enough money. I said, are you sure you want to say that? I got myself appointed a lawyer, Louis Kuman, and that's my first time that I actually got involved with lawyers.
Right.
And in any case, so we went to court, and it went to the High Court because it was quite a big case. I think I took him on for over $1 million on this pitting head. It's not the equipment; it's the amount of work that we would have lined up. In any case, Scott, and then I got in the year 2000. It rained so badly in the Sundays River Valley, I couldn't work with the machine. So that was just before the court case. So I parked my big dozer, my low bed. It was an old Mac and a tank transporter trailer, 5-axle tank transporter on his quarry. And Kees at that time was battling, and I was buying oil from him and bearings for his crushers and stuff.
Yeah.
And in any case, so that's when the court case started. And I moved it. Luckily for me, I moved a big dozer off-site. And then when I wanted to go and fetch the trailer, he said to me, he's got a rent interdict against me because I owe him 19,000 Rand a month for parking the 3 machines on his property. And I didn't know what a rent interdict is. So a rent interdict, I think you should know, is if I owe you money and I've got something on your property, you can lawfully keep it until I can prove the innocence of my case. And and long story short, at the end, a friend of Kees van der Toe, Frans Mouton from Plopmans in the Cape Town, wanted to buy the lowbet, and I said to him, I can't sell you the lowbet, it's stuck in a court case. And he said to me, no, don't worry, man, I know Kees, I'll sort it out. Mm-hmm. So long story short, Kees said to me, will you withdraw the case? And then we quit, and you walk away, you get your lowbet and you sell it. So I thought, let's get everything going, because Louis Kuman didn't want to represent me in that time, because somebody sabotaged my big dozer on the farm called Penhill in Addo. They drained the oil on the engine and paid the operator. That seized up. So this friend of Kees, Mr. Frans Mouton from Clubmits, he came up. He said, okay, he'll sort it out. He'll take the low bed. How much do I want for the low bed? I said, I want 60,000 Rand for the low bed. And he said he wants 75,000 Rand to redo the engine for me. I said, fine. And that was in front of my uncle. My uncle died, Gerskundi. He was my mother's brother.
Yeah.
And he died about 5 years ago. And in front of me, he promised my uncle 3 weeks and the engine will be back in my machine.
Right.
My engine and my low bed, I've never seen ever again, without a single cent ever been paid. So yeah, that's the first time I went under in 2001.
Yeah.
Now we're getting close to, then I went to work again for another year for De Beers Marine. And I started as not as a senior driller, I was a driller. And then I saw that the beers had changed a hell of a lot. It wasn't the Cape Coloureds that are normally people that work at sea that brought in the Namibian workers and stuff because it was in Namibian waters. You know how the dispensation works.
Yeah.
They force people that are actually not equipped to work there. And at that time I was I got my focus onto working with equipment. And the Beers offered 50 Rand for any innovation that would increase production. So I was always sitting at night and drawing stuff and putting it forward, and then some of the plans were taken by the Beers, but every plan you hand in, they give you 50 Rand. And then I designed a drill head out of Perspex, 1:20 scale, and the engineers with degrees were very not angry, but they were, how can I say, call it jealous. I don't know other word to say.
Yeah.
Because they had intricate designs and valves and stuff like that to suck up the gravel when you've got blockages and stuff like that. And mine was simple. You've got the air, you've got the water, and you've got your rotation that you do. And that's what I always try and simplify mechanics and stuff.
Right.
And mine, I performed them about 30 to 40%. And all of a sudden, I became a bit of a threat to these engineers. And that's where my passion, when, as I said to you, from my childhood, I loved restoring nature or working in restoring nature.
Yeah.
I was sitting in a pub down in Observatory in Cape Town when I met a Jacob Botha. Jacob Botha, I'm sorry, Scott, I can't remember the passing. And he introduced me to Peter Williams. And they had a business down there where they actually look at entrepreneurs and then they try and get funding and then support them, and get a share out of the business. It's basically how their whole business works.
Yeah.
And I spoke to Jaco and I spoke to Peter and I said, I've got a principle that I call the seed principle, Scott, because everybody looks at massive project to create work. But that's seasonal, if I can put it that. Some of these, let's say you build a tar road, 200 kilometer tar road. Maybe it's going to last you 2 years. But what happens to the people that work as locals, that staying close to the road, that get work for maybe a 6 months or a year contract? Then the job is finished. Then those people that have made loans, they're in debt by the banks. And they can't pay, and whether they bought a TV or fridge is repossessed. And I said to them, I want to look at, we've got to start teaching our generations to love nature, to care for nature, and I call it the seed principle. So a yellowwood seed is maybe, call it 10 Rand, and a thorntree seed is 1 cent. So you start teaching your children at school, if you pick up these seeds, I'll give you 1 cent. If you pick up a yellowwood seed, I'll give you 10 Rand, because in 100 years' time, that in 2 generations' time, or 3 generations' time, that wood can be harvested.
Yeah.
But the thornwood can be harvested within 5 years for firewood. So you teach them what are the practical viability of wood is.
Yeah.
And I said to them, and they said to me, what do you mean by the seed principle? I said, well, to plant a seed, what do you need? You need a planting bag or planting tray. You need this the medium to plant it in. You need water to irrigate it. I said, then you need a roof or a shade or a nursery. Then you need your irrigation pipes. You need a water pump. You need all those things. So I said, the spin-offs from a simple thing like a seed, it's exponentially 10 times bigger than you can imagine, because you need transport, you need labor, you're going to use fuel, diesel, batteries and tires and stuff like that. Then you start buying food. Then you need this. And I said, that's just from teaching the children by looking after something in nature. And if we don't teach the children to look after nature, we will do. No matter how many millions or trillions you've got in the bank.
Yeah.
Without oxygen and water, we're dead. And in any case, then I met my wife, Cindy, in PE when I came home for a weekend, because we worked 3 weeks at sea and 10 days off. And my uncle Gerskumi was with me, and then and we met her, and she had a boyfriend at that time, and then started dating her and got married, and she was a brilliant wife to me. And but it started getting snobbish because, and I don't like, I'm a very down to the ground person, and I said to her, listen, please, we must be humble. We mustn't get big-headed because we're making money. And things were not so lucky at the end, in any case. And then with me having the property in Mozambique, we used to go down to Mozambique quite a lot. And I just wanted to get out of the country, Scott. I wanted to go farm and work, and I planned to take 4 or 5 machines up to Mozambique. And and as I said previously when we had a bit of a chat, things went wrong in my business. I couldn't get work with the Department of Roads anymore. I couldn't get work. Sovereign Food wasn't doing too well at that time. In August 2008, a bit of a recession. Then after I did that work with the Department of Roads, I was angry because I did a good work, and I was working subcontractor work for big companies. And one company, I mentioned names, I'm not scared to mention names, Civil 2000. I did that, my contract value was 2.9 million, and they were paid over 13 million. They did some other concrete works, but not enough to qualify 13 million.
Yeah.
The job that I did, the emergency in 2006 flood, I did the job for about 1.7 million rand, and the next job came out for 39 million rand. I wasn't allowed to do the job or even tender on the job. And so you get angry because there's no fairness in South Africa in business. If in the olden days, if a contractor could do the job, no matter how big the job is, if you can build a road, you can build a road. If you can build a bridge, you can build a bridge. Whether it's a 1 meter span or 100 meter span, if you're a good bridge builder, you can build it.
Yeah, sure.
And in any case, that's a bit of a background on that. And then, as I said, I didn't have much work, and I was trying to liquidate my company in 2010. I didn't get anything sold. My house wasn't sold. And the house we bought in 2009, R1 million cash deposit on that, and a bond of 1.85 million. And I think it was about 18 or 19,000 rand around there.
Now, which bank had you been dealing with all this time with these loans? Standard Bank.
Standard Bank.
Okay, was this always at Port Elizabeth?
Always in Port Elizabeth. When I was on the farm in Summer Cities, that was Standard Bank Summer Cities. And when I picked up, I wasn't happy with Dennis Pagel. He was a useless manager in Summer Cities. I went to Boland Bank, which was a big mistake for me.
Yeah.
Boland Bank has never been a very good bank in South Africa. And then I think they were absorbed by ABSA. I think so. I'm not sure. In any case, but I've always been with Standard Bank. It was my bank of choice. And in any case, got the bond for 1.85.
Yeah.
And paid that off. And I mean, as I said, Brian Dawson was a brilliant manager. Everybody, even here where we're staying now 200 k's away from PE. The farmer, when I mentioned Brian Dawson, he said, brilliant manager. And it's unfortunate we don't have managers like that. So in any case, that's when with Standard Bank, I didn't get any joy out of them at the end because it was a Greg Weber was transferred. After that email, I don't know why, within 3 months he was gone there. And I'm not sure where he went. I think he mentioned at one stage he wanted to go to East London where his family was. I don't know. And then Simon Spence took over, which was an absolute nice guy. In any case, that's where really things started going wrong with Standard Bank. But I mean, I stayed with Standard Bank, went on. And when I couldn't get any work and I battled, I landed that job with Peter Norkie of Sittersrand with that big dozers.
Right.
And I was busy buying a Liebherr 764 via Standard Bank. I decided on the Liebherr because Liebherr is very light on fuel. and there was 1.1 million rand difference between the Libre and the Komatsu dozer. And in any case, long story short, I was told by Standard Bank until the client said he's going to finance me. I'm just going to get a machine and he'll pay for it, and then we can work it off in the contract. I went to the whole country and I got two 275 D9 size bullets up in Potgietersrus from Hanwell Mining. Villa van Niekerk, he was the owner. And I've got the price down from 1.2 million rand each to 800,000, including some spares. And I did a lot of dealing with them to try and get the price down. So I've saved ourselves 400,000 rand, 800,000 on the purchase of the machines. Brought them back to my plot in PE, my workshop where we stayed, and I built the workshop. Okay, right. Built the setup, put the roof on, put the electricity, lights all around, and then closed it up. I bought the big compressor, the big welder, 500 amp MIG welder, all that type of tool you need for building a big ripper like that onto the big dozers.
Right.
And very well. And I mean, Peter promised to open a CC where one machine would be mine, and I said to him, okay, on that condition, I will do all my work for you at cost, which I did.
Yeah.
But he never opened CC. And I started. It was a bit bitter because I mean, I didn't have the money to fight against a big farmer like that. And he once said to me, "But why am I not on the farm?" I said, "Because I'm not making money by it, Peter. I could make other civil work to pay my costs, because at the farm I was working at cost."
Yeah.
And in any case, it's fine because you believe in people, and that's my mistake. I always try to see the good in people.
Yeah.
And at the end, we landed up. I was fighting with Komatsu because the one machine, the two machines were named Purple and Renoster. And I had disagreements with Komatsu because they weren't qualified in the Eastern Cape to work on big dozers, because it's not a mining sector, and these are mining-sized bulldozers. At the end, I said to Clint Kadamli, and I can't remember the manager. Never mind. In any case, I said, please fly me a mechanic in from Joburg that's qualified to work on the machine, because we were battling for 6 months to get the one machine going.
Right.
I didn't get any joy out of that. So I phoned Villa van Niekerk and said, listen, who's the guy that worked on these machines about you? So I gave me the name, and I flew this guy down against what do you call it? Komatsu doesn't allow a mechanic from another area to work in where they are. They train different branches. So he took off a weekend, and I flew him down from Petersburg, and he worked on the machine, and he found that that the injectors were faulty. So in any case, Komatsu and P kept saying they could replace the injector pump. And we're not going to go into details on that. But the long story short, I spent 179,000 rand trying to get the machine going, and the machine wasn't going. So I said to Peter, I'm going to hold them accountable for loss of production, because they were doing a big job here from Sundays River to P, and I landed the contract on the quarry. I said, fine, go for it. So I had a letter drawn up by Suzanne McLeod, a lawyer in P. I sent it to Peter to okay it. He okayed it, and then he phoned me, let's say on a Wednesday. He said to me, Martin, looks like the letter worked. Komatsu is flying a mechanic down for us from Joburg to work on the machine. I said, fantastic. And a day or two, I can't remember, was it a Thursday or Friday, he phoned me, he said, listen, no, Komatsu said, no, they're cancelling the mechanic, and it's now a legal, what do you call it?
Case.
I don't know what the...
Yeah.
A legal what? Yeah, it's a legal matter. Okay, yeah. And then in any case, and he turned around, he said, I stuffed it up now. And that's one thing you don't do. I don't turn my back on you, don't turn your back on me. And I lost it. I said to him, are you sure you want to say that to him? Yeah, he managed, and he said he managed to get it right for them to fly it. I said, really, Peter? After I've asked you how many times to come with me to Komatsu, I've sent emails to you, and you didn't come, and now you're telling me I stuffed it up. And I put the phone down, and I phoned my stepson. I said, withdraw all my machines from that farm now. And I walked away from about 4.5 million rands worth of work, Scott, out of principle. That guy was very furious. He was one of the top farmers. And no dinky toy chap like me does that to him. In any case, So with my machines, I didn't have any work, and got some other work from another guy in P about 2 months later, and that got me there. I survived a bit, and then, as I said prior before the live stream, I went to a lot of right-wing meetings to find out what's the truth, who's authentic, who's genuine, and I'm not going to mention names now, but my personal reflection on all these guys, there's not one honest leader. They were all making money out of membership, and I think they're all double agents. Personally, that's what I think about it, because what's easier for national intelligence to have a leader that is likable and well-spoken, and the people join him, they still pay him a salary of 50 Rand a month or whatever, and you get all the details from him, the ID numbers, the cell phone numbers, the physical address, and you can tell him, listen, Martin's outspoken, Martin's not outspoken, on top of that. So that was my personal dealings with, I don't believe in politics. I think it's the most satanic system there can be, because you don't see honesty in politicians. They tell you what you want to hear.
Yeah.
And I nearly gave up, Scott, because I've got land in Mozambique, and I don't have enough money to go to Mozambique. I went to Mozambique 11 times, and I only got my land in 2011 through the help of Ken McCarter, as a very well-known big cattle farmer there. As I said, he lost 1,000 head of cattle in the COVID with theft, and not getting medicine and disease and stuff like that. So he came down for 4.5 to, he's got about 3,700 hectares head of cattle there now. Well, in any case, that was the plan, to go to Mozambique and stuff, and then we came back from Petersburg, and on our way up, my wife said to me, even if that's the last thing we do together, I'll never forget those words. And I still turned around and said, what do you mean by that? She said, no, nothing. And stuff like that stick to my head. Came back and I got this phone call from Gavin Allen. And Gavin Allen he was a site manager for Sovereign Food, and I think that was around 2006, 2007, I did my very first platform, Sovereign Foods in Droptons, and the farm where I did that was just outside Jeffreys. And I said, yeah, Gavin, where are you from? No, he's working at Medupi, and how's it going? I said, no, man, it's going shit, I don't have work. And he said, phone Warwick Hughes, which I did. He gave me the number, I phoned Warwick, and I met Warwick outside Bloemfontein. Within half an hour, I was speaking to Gavin. And I haven't seen Warwick for many years as well. And I said to him, Warwick, I don't have the time to stop now. I'm going to go back to PE. I've got to go and do some admin there and pay people. And then I'll come back in a week's time, which I did. And as I said prior, I loaded the price to 300,000 Rand for a 40 by 60 meter square platform. They wanted to put a bigger workshop up. When I saw Warwick the last time, he couldn't pay me, Scott, 1,500 Rand for 9 months. And I left it, and then in any case, this workshop he put up in 2012, or 2013 was 17 million Rand. And quoted him an exorbitant fee, plus the transport to get the machines there. And every time we finished one plot, they'd extend, buy another plot next door, and it kept on and on. And it never crossed my mind that I'm in a truck. I never thought about it.
Right.
It was beside, I never even thought about it. And then these right-wing leaders, or right-wing groups, let's put it this way, try to call me in, and there are things that were said and that could implicate me as being a terrorist. But I was asking questions. I'm a very curious person, and I want to know what the truth is. And one of the guys I actually used as a security guy in Bloemfontein, Ray Nelson, I'm calling him by name, he's one of the agents. They can come to me, want to. I don't mind, Scott, I've had enough shit. A big guy, very big guy. And one day we were standing on the platform, and I turned around and pointed my hand like that in his face, not even a ruler's length away from his face. I said, Ray, you're a snake, what are you doing? Who are you? And he cried, he said, I'm your brother. I said, your brother's mother. Her brother's, excuse my swearing, moved. In any case, but a big guy, really a big guy. He could break my neck off with one black slap. In any case, that went on, and then this Mark Clark, he's one of the guys that was locked up. He kept phoning me, no, but I must come see him. I said, listen, Mark, I'm a businessman. I'm busy with the work. I haven't time for your shit. No, but please, they want to talk to me. So that morning, I was standing with a client on site, around about further. I said, don't worry. I'm very worried. There are people trying to infiltrate me and they're trying to get me into trouble. I don't know who they are, but I'm going to go to Kroonstad and I want to find out what the hell is going on. I said, if I don't find you about 10 o'clock, you let my wife know I'm in trouble. I think I'm walking into a trap. Those are my words. And my God strike me dead if I'm lying, Scott. In any case, Warwick phoned me just before 10 or just after 10. I can't remember precisely. We had just sat down at the garage in Kroonstad with these guys. I've never met them, or I haven't met the other people. I took Ray with, and back up and told him, Ray, I think I'm walking into a trap. I want you to come with. And he took his pistol and I took my revolver. Yeah. But now we're sitting doing coffee and stuff. And lo and behold, the water trap. They took photos of me there. And then Ray was telling me on the way back, now, this guy's going to get a G6 and he's going to put it on a low bed. And I said to him, do you guys know how big a G6 is? That thing is well over 3 meters wide. No, they're going to pack Lucerne bales around it. And I started laughing and I said, really now? And in case I forgot about that. And then one day he said to me, I'm just going to take photos of the conference center. I said, why? No, because he's got to make sure that everything is safe and stuff like that. And then he started talking about the ANC conference. I said to him, Ray, what are you guys planning? No, they planning this and that. I said, listen, there'll be 1,000 police and security and personnel there. There's no way you can get close to that. Forget about it. So I left it in that, and then one day they phoned me, I must take photos. I said, no, man, I don't know where the center is. You can fetch me and take me to the Kali Iman Center. And I know precisely where the Kali Iman Center is. When we were at a concert college, we danced there, and my sister's graduation was there. So he took me there, took the photos in front of, I went to stand in front of the security cameras, and I was taking photos of the security cameras, knowing me that they're taking photos of me. So I was walking into the trap, but I wanted to find out who are these people, sending these people. And that's the question at the end, Scott and Noel. There's a few pointers in who's involved in this. And in any case, I forgot about that, and I went on with my work at the site in Painsflat, Bloemfontein. And at the end, me and Warwick got along so well that we were planning to do satellite crushing stations in Mozambique. Let's say in Maputo make the one, and let's say 250 k's at the Shai make another one, and in Inhambane another one, and as we go progress up in Mozambique, and we had actually paid and booked a flight up to Mozambique to go and inspect land at close to Inasoro, Vilanculos, with a Etienne Erasmus 25,000 hectare demarcated area for quarrying and stuff.
But hang on, wasn't Warwick the guy who couldn't pay you?
Come again?
Wasn't Warwick the guy who couldn't pay you?
That's the guy that couldn't pay me. And that's the guy that put up 70 million rand workshop.
Yeah, but you said you became very good friends.
At the end, I thought we were getting along well and stuff like that. I mean, Scott, I had free range on the site. I went for a platform. At the end, I was doing the electricity.
Right, so they did start paying you after that.
Come again?
They did start paying you after that.
No. The 1,500 rand that he owed me was around 2008, 2009.
Right.
That's why I couldn't understand when the Gavin Allen phoned me in 2012 regarding about July, August, that Warwick has got so much money to develop so big.
Yeah, yep.
Because
okay.
it makes sense.
Let's continue. So you went up to Mozambique, or you were flying up to Mozambique, yeah.
We were going to fly up to Mozambique.
Yeah.
And it's this stepson of mine's girlfriend or fiance at that time. I didn't like her, so I got the whole engagement up with her, and because of certain things that happened in my house, and then she wanted to come visit my wife at that time. And I said, you're welcome to see her, but I'm not interested. And that night, My wife kept on and on and on. I said, listen, please come, just say hi. And then, just have a beer with us. So I had a beer. Then we were sitting by the people, Rika and Dolphin Electrical. I can't remember his surname. They did the electrical contracting for me. Had a beer, and then now I must have a shooter. Now I can't say what happened there, Scott. The next morning, my eyes were red, blue, yellow, all the way down. Looked like somebody punched me in the face. And I actually woke my wife up and said, listen, look here, what's going on here? And I didn't feel anything funny that day. And she said, no, she doesn't know. And I didn't feel bad, nothing. I went to the work. I started work on site at 6 o'clock every morning.
Yeah.
And 11 o'clock, the fan belt of the grader was starting to break off. And we stopped the grader. I said, okay, let's just finish that leveling on that side. And I went into diesel electric. And then as I walked into diesel electric, my head started swimming. And I actually held on, and I said to the guy, excuse me, I'm feeling very funny in my head. In any case, I managed. I said to myself, you're not going to fall down here. And I got back to the bucky. And I was on my way they told me where to go, Bloomspace. And I took the wrong turn off. And going down the road, just felt like steel straps over my chest. And I passed out. As I passed out, I hit myself on the chest. Fell onto the steering wheel, and the bucky went over the curb into the tree, but 20 k's, traveling slowly. And I phoned my wife, and I said to her, listen, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if I'll see you again. I don't know if it's a heart attack or what. I'm stuck here, and I can't drive. In any case, I came right a bit, Scott, and I took the road and went down the road where I was traveling down, where diesel electric was, Cap Street in Bloemfontein. In any case, then my sister phoned. She said, no, she's sending her husband to come fetch me. So I said, I'm going to Bloomspace. I'm looking for Bloomspace. I'm going there, and I want to Fanwell. So in any case, I got to Bloomspace, and same thing happened. I said to the old man, excuse me, I sat down, and we can phone the owners of Bloomspace. They can vouch for that. And I said, excuse me, I sat down again. I said, Uncle, can you just help me with this fan belt? So he got me a fan belt, and then as I started feeling better, my ex-brother-in-law, my sister's husband, walked in. He said, no, you'll drive me home. I said, you don't drive me home at all. I'm driving myself. And I drove back. It's about 20 k's, 25 k's back, and then I landed up in hospital for about a week and a half. So my flight to Mozambique was cancelled. Because of that, I fell sick on that Friday morning. We were going to fly out that Monday.
Yeah.
Because, so Scott, after that, I went on with the civil contract and stuff. And as I said, the contract was extended by then buying more and more property. I've designed my own paving block. It's an interlocking paving block, square one, based on an idea that I saw in Mozambique, because the square surface is much more stable on sand than a rectangular paver. And that Saturday, before I was locked up, I was busy, or the electrician was installing the three-phase plugs for the pan mixer, the vibrating table, and the block making machine. And then that specific week, 2 full 6-meter containers of cement was delivered with bags. I think there were 750 bags per container. And on that Monday, we were going to start throwing the concrete slab for the brick blocking, for the blocks for the paving. And then, I was locked up on the 16th of December, the morning, around 1 o'clock.
The day of the vow.
And that day, Scott, if somebody doesn't, you can call him God, you can call it your creator, whatever you want.
Yeah.
I call him on his holy name that after investigating the Bible, on his holy name, Yahweh.
Yeah.
You can pronounce it any way you want to. I was supposed to go to Jan Fourie for Verloftedag. I don't know if you know the history of Verloftedag.
No.
The Battle of Blood.
Oh, yes, of course I know about the Battle of Blood.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's 16%. In any case, and that morning, I believe that God kept my head flat on the pillow. I couldn't wake up or couldn't stand up. I said to my wife, I don't know what's going on. I can't pick up my head. So I typed a message to Jan Fourie. I said, I'm not going to make it.
Yeah.
And then one of the agents, Ian Costain, he's a guy that my ex-wife had got to look after my other son in P while I was working there. He picks up at around 9:30. And I said to him, Ian, what are you doing? No, I invited him for geloftedag. I said, Ian, you're talking crap. Why would I invite you? You don't have money to come from PP, yeah? He was supposed to be a manager on the Spur in Port Elizabeth at the Victory. In any case, so I looked at him, and my ex-wife never came out of the room that day. And I found a guy, also a cop, Louis Stein, that worked for me. I got him to do the concrete work for me from next door. And I said, Louis, just to read the gelofte from your cell phone. So in any case, Louis read the gelofte, and then Ian said, I can't remember what time it was, Scott, 11:30. No, he's got to go. And before that, I said to him also what I said to Ray Nelson. I also pointed him in his face. I said, Ian, what are you doing here? You're a snake. Who are you and what are you doing here? And he cried again the same words. He said, I'm your brother, I say you're good canoe. And Scott, once again, as he walked out, he was driving a little green metallic Peugeot 302, 203 or 302, I don't know the model number, double hatchback. And his right front wheel was quite flat. And I said to him, you need to pump the tyre at the total garage in Langenhoven Park. Otherwise you're going to lose the tyre. And his words were, and I've got Louis Stein as a witness, he said, like the kiss of Judah. And we both, Louis and myself, looked at each other, and he got back into the car. And then, lo and behold, he phoned again, but I fell asleep. I phoned about half an hour later. I was fast asleep. And my wife called me, said, no, Ian is on the line, and he's got a puncture. I said, and I've got a very short temper. So I said to him, why didn't you pump your tyre? No, he pumped the tyre, but he's got a bigger problem. He's lost the tyre, and his spare was also flat. So I said, okay, I'm on my way. So once again, I'm kept flat in the bed, and I phoned Louis Stein next door. I said, Louis, please come over. Give him my little mobile compressor. I give him the tyre repair kit. I said, there's a guy's number. Phone him, going to help him, please. And I fell asleep. And it wasn't long after that, I was fast asleep. I heard the doorbell go, and my wife had jumped up and she opened the sliding gate. So I said to her, are you expecting somebody? And she went straight to the kitchen, so I pressed the button again so that the door doesn't go any further. And I walked out. I just had my jeans on, Scott, and bare feet and stuff. And I walk out to see if I can see somebody. And lo and behold, there's your camera guys coming to arrest me. That's where that started. There I went 7 months awaiting trial.
Now, this is because you were involved with this right-wing group, is that right?
Well, I don't know. Scott, I've met up with some people that are investigating this for me. I personally believe it's a document an old man gave me. It's about the grand theft of gold out of South Africa, where Mr. de Klerk, the president, was involved. And on the document, I've never seen bank stamps like that. It wasn't like a normal square or rectangular. It was round. You know those things that you get at when the farmers win competition on the stock fairs for fat.
It's like a seal.
Yeah, those little, what they call it?
A seal.
Yeah, it's a seal,
Yeah.
Different seals, different size seals. And the figure, I can't remember, was it 12 or 15 zeros in dollars? It was a massive figure, and my words to Uncle Neil's different. And once again, they can do whatever they want with me. Yeah. I still said to him, "What, you're giving me a death certificate? What can I do with this?" I said, "I'm a one-man band. I don't belong to anybody." He said to me, "Martin, I think you can do something." And I think that nailed me, Scott. Because when I came out of the madhouse, I call it the madhouse, it's simple. I asked my ex-wife, "Where is that document?" And she said, and that's where I don't remember if she said she burnt it or she tore it up and flushed it down the toilet. And my question was to her, "How did you know where it is?" And she went red in the face and said, "No further questions." So
Now, hang on, a 12-figure amount is a...
yeah, 12-0. That's I can't remember, was it 109 or 100 or 209, and then 12 or 15 zeros behind it.
Well,
That was-
12 zeros is a trillion. So it's $209 trillion.
Yeah.
And
Now,
this
the
is full
figure
gold.
is, I never knew of anything else. I've never seen a document like that. I didn't know about any grand theft of gold. I knew nothing. All I knew that the paper, I think there were 2 or 3 pages, I can't remember correctly, Scott, that it spoke about 5,000 tons of gold, and then that that was the woman he married at the end. Her husband was a
That was
shipping
a
magnate.
leader.
He transported, yeah,
A
with the
leader.
orders or whatever.
Well,
He transported
wasn't she
gold
the-
to Africa.
Wasn't she the ex-wife of the Greek
Of the
fellow?
shipping magnate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, her husband was a shipping magnate.
Yes,
the
that's
previous
right.
husband.
Alita, yeah.
Yeah. Apparently he transported the gold out of South Africa. And then later on, after I came out, I heard that there was actually 8,000 tons involved and 3,000 tons was dispersed between the people that stole it. So I can't say if it's true. All I know what I saw. I didn't make any copies of the document. Unfortunately, I should have made copies.
Yeah.
And I can't vouch for that, Scott, but I saw a figure that I've never seen in my life, and I've seen samples, or stamps, and, or what do you call it, seals, and what do you call it, signatures. It wasn't like a something you can copy, if I can put it that way. I'm not talking about a copy, I'm talking about falsified. There were too many lines over each other, and I've never seen like that. I didn't walk around and tell anybody about it.
No, just on your arrest, was that sort of at the same time as this document was shown to you?
No, I was arrested 16 December. I asked my ex-wife when I came out 2 years later, where is the document?
Right, okay. And she
Okay,
said she
so-
burnt it.
And then she left me I came out, let's say I came out on the 1st of August. The 3rd of August, she went to the hospital for the hysterectomy. And then I think she was in hospital 2 or 3 days. She came back and she left me the next day.
Okay.
And she left me and moved in with her boyfriend in Grootbrak in the Western Cape.
Now, okay, let's just get back to your arrest. What were you arrested for?
Conspiracy to terrorism, high treason, and illegal weapons. I was supposed to be the man, the single-handedly is going to take out the ANC conference. I'm going to shoot President Zuma, and there were stories that I had a G6 cannon, 120 millimeter mortars. I've got 5 tons of explosives. I've got a bucket full of chemic. I had my galvanized fittings I used for the irrigation system I put in. I'm going to make hand grenades, and there was a story as well that I had been in America. I got millions to overthrow the government, and that I'd sent my stepson, the oldest one, to Mozambique to get AK-47s and diamonds. Now, there's a bit of truth on that. Not that I sent him, I didn't know about it. Just to reiterate on that, he phoned me once from before I was locked up that he's got a problem with rabid dogs, and I know rabies is a very big problem in Mozambique. He said he shot the 4th one now. What can he do to get a weapon in Mozambique? And I just gave him a compound bow.
Yeah.
And in case I said, don't worry, I'm going to phone Ken McCarter, which I did. And Ken said to me, man, you've got to go to the community. If the community okays that you can buy or get from government an AK-47, or they give you a security guard with an AK-47 for the rabid dogs and the crocodiles, because some of the blacks were caught on the farm with crocodiles. And then next to me was a guy called Ian Hayward, and he said to me, use temic. And I've never heard of the word temic in my entire life. I said, what the hell is temic? He said, no, it's wolfgif. No, wolf bait, or wolf poison. I said, where the hell am I going to get it? He said, no, you'll sort it out, because the potato farmers apparently use it for eelworm in South Africa. That's what he explained to me. So in any case, that was now the bucket load of temic I had. He had sent me a little bit in a little margarine packet to send with a TLB that I sold to Ken McCarter up in Mozambique. So in any case, yeah, that was now the bucky load of tonic, and I'm so good, I'm going to poison the water that only goes to the blacks, because I'm only going to poison the black people in South Africa. That's the bullshit that's been going on regarding my case.
Now, as a result of this, you spent 7 months in jail, and 3 of those months were in solitary confinement, if I remember right.
That's correct. We were all in single cells, 7 months awaiting trial.
How many of you were arrested?
4.
Okay.
One got bail, Han Gwenzaya got bail, and he was a nice guy. The other one was Mark Trollope. He was an idiot. I think he's got standard 6, and the young prince is...
I've heard of Mark Trollope. I've heard the name, Mark Trollope.
He's a very, very stupid guy, if I can put it that way. He was a pawn to one of the leaders, and I'm going to mention his name, Gustav Miller, of Zeitlanders. I don't trust that guy. Like I would rather sleep with a mamba than with be close to that guy.
No, hang on. How's Gustav Muller involved in this?
Mark Trollope working with Gustav Miller.
And he was a guy who was working with Gustav Muller, who was arrested for terrorism.
That's correct.
Now, okay, I'm a bit confused as to how, the guy who heads up Zeitlanders would somehow be involved in something like this.
Scott, I don't want to talk too much about that. He's one of the guys that is behind my shit. Louis Latergang, have you heard of the name Louis Latergang?
No. I think I have heard of Louis Latergang, but I can't think why.
Louis Latergang harbored Gustav Miller for up to 5 years, according to what I was told by Ian Kirstein. I don't want to go into detail with it because the guys are investigating this whole thing. Louis Latergang, just to give you a background, Louis Latergang comes out of a very wealthy family. His dad died in a car crash, and he was accused and locked up for rape of colored girls last year, and he's in jail at the current moment for raping or sexually, what do you call it? Or raping his daughter of 7 years old. That's Louis Latergang. Louis Latergang was Gustav Miller's own word to me. He's going to be the next LRA, and Louis Latergang told me Gustav Miller will be the next president. But we can leave it at that. It's a very sensitive issue to me, Scott, because I don't trust Gustav Miller at all. He's very dangerous, and people believe in him. And in my way, he's an absolute flippin' double agent, and he's dangerous.
Okay.
But let's leave it at that.
All right. Well, look, I actually know people at Zeitlanders quite well. I know, obviously, Simon, and I know Wynand. I'm not going to say their surnames, and they're really nice people. So I'm just
very good people, but
I'm just
really a lot of innocent people there. Really innocent people that are really patriotic, that really care for each other. But there's a big question.
Okay.
And I don't want to go into detail. As I said,
all right, we'll leave it at that. Now, look, while you were arrested, you were poisoned, weren't you?
I was bleeding for 4 or 5 months
from being poisoned. Now, look, the reason I'm really want to get into this point is because another very good friend of mine is Angelo Agrisi, who was arrested in a prison in Pretoria just for the one night, and while he was trying to sleep at about 10 p.m, someone came into his cell and injected him with something, and he nearly died as a result of that. And we actually had a live stream 18 months ago, I guess, with Angelo, where he talks about this. Now, did something similar happen to you?
What happened, Scott, we were all locked up in single cells. We could intermingle in a day. And I was reading, I've got that big Bible. I can show you if you want to. And every morning we came together like a prayer gathering. And then one morning they said, no, I don't believe in this shit and that Mark Pollard. And julle from Israelite is malvoet, and I didn't even know what an Israelite is. To me, an Israelite is somebody that was from the state of Israel. And later on I found it's in the Bible, the Israelites. In any case, and he pointed out to my family, I had all my wife and the kids and my grandma, mother and stuff, photos on the wall. He said, I've got people on outside and I have them all killed. In any case, and I nearly clobbered him, and then Johan Prince came in between.
Right.
But now what happened, Mark Prince never went to shower. He never showered. He only washed himself in the cell, in a little wash basin. So then the one black reported he made and sworn affidavit that Mark in the morning when me and Johan Prince go to shower, he would run into my cell, stay in the cell for a few minutes and then look out and run back to his cell. And that was a sworn affidavit. And then there was another sworn affidavit that the one guy heard Johan Prince and Mark Trollop saying to somebody on the telephone, we will let you know when the man is dead. I reported it to my ex-wife. I think I'm being poisoned because I got weaker and weaker and weaker. I collected the blood on the tissue. I wrote down the time and the date. I gave it to my wife every time they came to visit, and my sister. And in any case, I said, please have it tested, and it never happened. And then I phoned the media. The lady has moved to Australia. I don't know where she stays. Her name was Lani. She worked for the Courant, Courant in Bloemfontein.
Yeah. I
said to her, before I die, I want to let you know what is the truth. The people must know what is really happening. And then she said, hold on. She called, an editor. He said, can you call me tomorrow morning? We will record you and we'll give you my word in 3 weeks' time. Within 3 weeks, that will be in the newspapers. So I got my wife. I didn't tell my ex and my sister about anything. I said, please just bring me some phone tokens, which they did. And I phoned Lonnie. It was 10 o'clock the next day that I phoned Lonnie, and I spoke, and I was recorded. And I kept asking my wife, have you heard anything? Nothing. But I didn't mention about the newspaper. And I couldn't hold my curiosity. 3 weeks later, and I phoned Lonnie. And I said, listen, what's going on? She said, the editor phoned Captain Mouse. He was a main investigator from the Free State side. And he said, under no circumstances can that information be
released.
And then she said, but where are you? I said, yeah, I'm here at Grootplay. She said, but they tell me you're not there. And then I said, but I've been here the whole time. And then a few weeks later, I phoned again and said, they came there and they said, I'm not there. I've been transferred. The media was kept away from me. And then I was sent to the madhouse.
Tell me about the madhouse. I mean, it's a psychological ward, isn't it?
Yeah, they diagnosed me as a delusional disorder and a pathological liar.
Okay.
The professor, the first time I met him, he came to see me in jail. He said, you know that I've got the power to keep you in jail for the rest of your life. That was in jail.
Wow.
And then when I went to and he asked me a few questions. He had a young doctor with him, and the doctor started wanted to ask you some more questions. He said, no, we're going. Within 5 minutes, he packed him and going. I said to him, you know, doctor, what have you guys done to me? And I showed him a picture from before and after I was locked up. He said, is that really you? I said, yeah, that's what you guys are doing to me. You're playing a psychological warfare with me. In any case, the SPECS, the task force of the police, they picked me up from after the High Court, the last appearance in the High Court, and they dropped me off at the hospital, called it the Hospital Madhouse, and I said, no, I must go in there. And I walked in on my own. I had a suit on, and I was waiting there, and I asked the sitter, they said, I must come here if there's something that can help me. And they asked me, doctor, is there anything you need? I said, listen, no, I'm not a doctor, I'm a patient, I'm supposed to be booking it. And they looked at me and said, you're making a joke. I said, no, yes, my fault. You've got to take me in here. So they booked me in, and then Scott, you're supposed to go for 30 days observation in the psychiatric institute. I was 90 days in solitary confinement in a cell. In any case, and there, one night as well, I think I was poisoned because I had peanuts in my cell, and I bit into something that felt like it was like a hot piece of salt, and the heat in my face just built up, and I started vomiting immediately. And I drank water, and I vomited it out the whole time. And then the next day, when I opened the peanut bag, there was like a golden-colored little crystal that looked like brown sugar. It was full of that. And I asked my ex-wife and them, I said, please test this, and nothing happened from there. But let's go back to jail. You asked me how did the poison get in my room?
Yeah.
I think they put it into my cool drink because my wife and my sister and all that brought me food and stuff. And with the fellow black inmates reporting what they're seeing, the security there, the main specialist, called it prison warden, that were looking after us, they came to me and said, there's something very wrong with you, around you. We're taking you away from these two guys. And they put me next to the guard room at the bottom, next to the juvenile center, and they kept an eye on me there. And apparently there was a white guy, an ex-space force guy that was also keeping an eye out on me. And that's from a doctor, Dr. Gert Smith, who was my doctor before I was locked up. And when I saw him afterwards, he said to me, somebody was watching my back for me.
Right.
So what he meant by that, I don't know. In any case, and to give you factual proof that I think I was poisoned, is Johan Prinsley had cardboard boxes with a draping over it, and one often, I never ate with them, they never gave me anything. He asked me would I like some milk, so he had this big cupboard next to him where coffee and everything was standing, and there's a 2-liter bottle of, with milk, and they say 3/4 full. So I said, yeah, and he said, no, we'll take that bottle at the bottom. And the bottle was standing on the floor, and he poured it in, and a full glass and stuff, and that was just before lock, when they closed the doors at 5 o'clock. So I went back to my cell, put the glass down, got myself sorted out, and then when I drink milk, I like to drink the whole glass at a time.
Yeah.
So I drank it. Got the next moment, it's just, I felt like I'm...
Yeah. So your drink had been fiddled with.
And yeah, and I mean, the blood ran to my face, and I knew there's trouble. And I went to the nurse and I put my finger down. That whole entire night I was shaking and shivering that whole night. Then I knew, Martin, now you've got to watch yourself.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't that I've got such a sensitive, I've got an extremely sensitive, constitution. If I had kept that stuff in, I wouldn't have been here.
Yeah. Now look, let's move on from the prison. You were released after 7 months. What was the finding in the court? Were you just cleared of everything?
Yeah, the last day they called me in, and also in the madhouse, they didn't move me from one ward to another until I phoned Lonnie again. Then the lawyer said to me, jy het nou my naam plat gemaak, and that Marius Prover, I think he's an absolute scumbag. In any case, when I came out, they said, okay, I went through the different wards and stuff. And the last day they called me and they said, the head of the institute, black chap, I can't remember his name, he said to me, go on with your life and keep your nose out of politics. And there was an advocate, Liebenberg, a lady, nice friendly lady. They weren't funny. The head of the staff weren't funny to me, except for that professor in the beginning. He was really not a nice person.
Yeah.
And there was a doctor as well that was, let's forget about the doctor. In any case, I went to advocate. I said, advocate, what now? She said, Martin, forget about this and carry on with your life.
Wow.
And how do you start, Scott? How do you start? You're so shit scared. People are going to recognize you. You're just terrorists and blah, blah, blah. What are the blacks going to think of you? What are your people that grew up with you? What are they going to think? Yeah. Because I was a laughing stock in my circles.
So I take it your arrest had been reported in the papers with your photo and all that sort of stuff.
CNN, BBC, International News, Sky News, wherever.
Okay. Okay, so now let's move on. So, after you got out, you went back to farm work at Bloemfontein, didn't you?
I worked for the same client. He gave me a job on a farm with a penis partner.
Yeah.
And I hope I'm wrong. I strongly think that they were involved with getting me to Bloemfontein to get the contract there, to be able to link me to the conference, call it bombing, whatever they thought I could do.
The terrorism.
And so I worked for him for about a year until he fired me. He told me there's something wrong and stuff like that. And the Skinner's Barnett that was there, he was busy purchasing his company from him. And then there was another guy on the farm that worked with him that actually had an alteration with the owner. And I was phoned to come help and sort it out. And they're all nice people.
Yeah.
And I stood in between the manager of the farm and the owner of the farm. And I said, please stop this. We don't have to, let's not go this route. And I asked him, please forgive each other and stuff. And then the manager went to Warwick and said, yeah, I'm the guy causing all the trouble. So Warwick fired me with immediate effect. It's fine, I accept it. In any case, because I was running the fields and stuff, the irrigation and stuff. So it happened, Scott. I mean, I'm not going to be shy of saying what I said. I don't believe the emblem that African Mining and Crushing had at the time when I was locked up was an Illuminati symbol. You can actually look it up. It was African Mobile Crusher at that time. And I apologize to anybody if I say something that hurts their feeling or do them in. But fact is fact. And afterwards, when I came out, the symbol had completely changed. It doesn't even look close to what it was. And I'd given him a book, Bold Preachers, which is one of the best books about false religion that I've ever read in my life, by Michael C. Extian. And I don't know if that was also, I can't say Warwick is a Jew or not a Jew, it doesn't matter to me. I gave it out of sincerity because I fully believe that if we all turn back on earth, back to the ways of the Father, there won't be any shit on earth.
Yeah.
And then I went on with my life, and then I went to work for my cousin, Gert Skumbi, in Komadaga, my late mother's brother's son. And he also fired me after 3 months, after I told him, you've got no love for people, because he treated his blacks very badly. And they were stealing him rotten. And I said to him, because of the way you treat your blacks, why they're stealing your stuff. And he said, I'm making the blacks up against him, which was not the case. The people were hungry and they wanted meat and stuff. If they don't get meat, they're going to steal it.
No, it was about this time that you started having trouble with Standard Bank, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's about the time. And sorry, I want to get back to what we were supposed to discuss, Standard Bank.
Yeah.
When I came out, Scott, I went to Standard Bank. Firstly, my lawyer was Suzanne McLeod.
Yeah.
He did divorce proceedings, which my wife had instituted at that time. I paid for the divorce because she said she doesn't have money. And, I was heartbroken because she was I lost her. And you don't expect your wife to be part of this whole, call it scam or what do you want to call it. And when I came out, I had a pair of tracks that I sold. I sold a 500 amp MIG welder. I sold 2 sets of axles. And I gave that money, which I got 75,000 in cash. I paid it to my ex-wife's account. And after that, I still paid for the divorce. And I went to Suzanne McLeod. I said, Suzanne, I want to know what's going on to my property. I want to remedy the fact. I've been out of commission for 2 years. I need to get, or 3 years at that time. I said, please, I need to get back onto my feet. I want to sort this stuff out. Never knowing or thinking that there was a diabolic plan to keep me from buying my property back. Then I was appointed from Suzanne McLeod to Jolene Brown. She was appointed to the liquidators of Platini Haven, which was my CC at that time. And, excuse me? And I went to Standard Bank on numerous occasions to discuss the way forward. I think the one lady was a coloured lady, Ivy or Lily Duplessis. And then tried to get hold of the bank managers, and it was this way and that way. And then my 2017, I got a phone call from my auditor, Craig Killian. He was at Grant Thornton at that time, and he said he's got a plan to help me with money. And I didn't, no bank would touch me, Scott. I tried everything. I went to FNB, I went all over. I had opened a bank account with FNB down in Plett when I was working there in 2016. I was explaining to Sam, Scott, she's still my bank manager now. Everything what happened to me, I said, I don't want you to find out later on, this is the Martin Keevy, that's supposed to be this Pedals, it's supposed to be this. This is what I am. I want to open a business account. I want to open a company. I want to know, will you be able to help me open an account? She checked on the system. I wasn't blacklisted. I went to Jolene Brown. I said, Jolene Brown, this is my plan. I want to start a business. Can you tell me, am I blacklisted? She said, no, you're not blacklisted. Went on the system, I'm not blacklisted. In 2017, after working a year for Hyman Master Fence and Plett, where I resigned, I got the phone call from my auditor. He said to me, okay, they can help me, but at 15% interest. I said, well, Craig, nobody else is going to help me. If you're willing to help me at 15%, I'll go for it. So Scott, he said, okay, I'll meet his father this Sunday. I drove down to PE, met his father, and his father decided they're going to help me with 850,000 Rand at 15%. And Craig had helped me to open a company, a new company, which I paid off. I didn't have enough money to pay the company once off. In any case, so we started. So I went around and I went to look for a bulldozer. I bought a old Deep 155 up in Victoria. Brought it down to the Eastern Cape. Fixed up, repaired or rebuilt the redesigned ripper shanks. It's big ripper shanks, way over a ton each. Did that, and then I landed a job with our daughter, with Hannes Barry. He's a very big farmer in the Eastern Cape. And Gary Webb, the manager, he's a director of production manager or production director. He got me the job there, and I did very well, and I was very fortunate to land the job. And I worked so hard. I had one operator. I started with Blondie. He, unfortunately, I lost him to AIDS. We worked day in, day out, and within a month and a half, I could buy a brand new 4x4 bucket cash from the proceeds of the work.
Right.
So that was that part. And then there was Standard Bank. I've been now working, and I'm at the FNB client, and I'm not blacklisted. And then I went to Jolene. I said, listen, Jolene, I want to sort out this stuff. And then she said, no, Standard Bank says I owe 394,000 Rand. I said, how do they get to that? And then they said, no, she'll get me the details and stuff. And all of a sudden, before that, that bakkie at 12,000 k's and the new bakkie I bought, and I was on my way to a funeral at the end of end of October 2017 in Kirksburg, and I hit a donkey. Just outside Kirksburg. We will discuss it at another time. I'm not going to discuss the pros and cons about that donkey accident. So I wrote the bakkie off, and luckily for me, I bought a consignment stock bakkie that was cancelled. So it is basically a second-hand vehicle with no kilometers on for 310,000 Rand. And my auditor said, my broker said, I must insure it for the full replacement price because it's a brand new bakkie.
Right.
And when I put it off, they paid out the full insurance value, which was 375,000 Rand. So I scored 60,000 Rand on that.
Right.
And then I bought, and when I wanted to buy another bakkie, I decided I'm just going to buy a second-hand bakkie. I bought a 3-liter D4D Hilux bakkie 4x4. And when I wanted to apply for finance at Westbank, that's the first time I knew or found out that I was blacklisted. And that was a bit of a shock for me. And I said to her, what's happening now? And then I went to Jolene Brown and said, what's going on? Oh, no, Standard Bank has instituted blacklisting against you because you owe them 394,000 Rand. I said, but I wasn't blacklisted. So she said, no, she doesn't know all the normal excuses and stuff. So it was just after I started making money, let's say 3-4 months after I started making money, that I was blacklisted. And that's when the trouble started. And I said, listen, but I want to buy my place back. She said, okay, she'll get all the info for me, and she's a liquidator, and she said, okay, at the end, this is what we've got to do. And in that meantime, I've gone with my CEO. Sorry, let me just step back. Because I was blacklisted, now all of a sudden I'm a threat to the company, my own company. And I was scared the Standard Bank can come and repossess everything that I've worked up for. And I'm still owing my finance, Craig's dad that borrowed me the money, that I owe him 850,000. So I said to Craig, Craig, what can I do? He said, Martin, you've got to do a back-to-back policy. Transfer all the shares to my dad, and then of course Uncle Jay, my auditor's father, he became the CEO of the company. I transferred all the shares back to them. I don't even know if a back-to-back is a legal document. You trust your auditor. So I signed all the thing, and now then I complained a bit about the interest rate, which is so bloody high. I said I've proven myself, so they reduced it down to 12%, but then I had to pay 10,000 Rand a month CEO salary, which I accepted, and then I borrowed, was it 950? I borrowed another 950, and I bought quite a few machines in the meantime. I paid 200,000 deposit down in a mini excavator. I bought a D65 dozer, I bought a tractor, grid rollers and stuff, and as I progressed.
Martin, how did you borrow nearly R1 million when you were blacklisted? Where did you get the money from?
From my CEO. He borrowed me, not from the bank. It's a private investment. My auditor's father, he had investments that didn't make money. So they were making money out of me. I'm paying, at one stage when I started, I was paying 60,000 Rand a month back.
Okay, so you actually borrowed that 950,000 from your auditor's father?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. He financed me from there on.
Okay.
No bank would touch me.
Okay, yeah. Carry on. Yeah.
So then I asked Uncle Jay to go with me to Standard Bank, and we went to, after one meeting with another meeting, trying to resolve, and then at the end we went to Jolene branch. He said, Martin, Standard Bank says you're outstanding 1.8 million, make an offer and they will accept it. So
how did 394,000 Rand become 1.8 million Rand?
I can't answer that. The 394 at the end I found out was my business account at Standard Bank.
Yeah.
And the 1.8 million was the bond on the property that was outstanding.
But you still had the property, so they could have foreclosed
I
and
don't
sold
have
it.
I paid 2.85 in 2009 when I bought it.
Yeah.
I put R1 million down on it cash. So my bond was 1.85 million, okay?
Okay.
Which was approved. Valuation at that time for my property was 3.5 million from Standard Bank. So they gave me the 1.85 million, which I was paying at, I think, 19,000, just under 20,000 Rand a month.
Mm.
And then, so now, remember, I've been locked up and basically a year working in Bloemfontein and trying to get my bearings. And then, so there's compound interest and blah, blah, blah. So what we did, when I found out that I'm blacklisted, I went straight to my auditor. They did the transfers of the shares and stuff like that, and I call it the old man.
Yeah.
He became the CEO of the company. He's a nice person. He's 80 years old. He's still flying his own plane and stuff.
Yeah.
And so we made an offer. Sorry, before we made the offer of 1.8, we found out that it's outstanding 1.8, and I didn't. That's the only figure that the liquidator told my auditor, Craig Killian. So Craig said, listen, man, Martin, let's be fair. Let's make an offer of 2.5 million. Standard Bank clears your name, and the property is yours. We'll help you buy the price back, and we clear your name. Then there's no problem. So he phoned, I think it was Cedric Miller. He was the CFO of Standard Bank in Joburg.
Right.
He explained the scenario to the CFO. He said, listen, I know there's more money outstanding with your debt increments and stuff like that, but this is the physical amount that's outstanding that was borrowed from you guys is 1.8. The rest is interest, which is paper interest. That's a paper entry. So he said, we're willing to make a 2.5 million offer. We get the property back, You clear Martin. And the CEO said he doesn't see any problem with that, and go for it. But Standard Bank Port Elizabeth refused to accept it. Then they said we must make an offer for the outstanding figure of 1.8 million, which we did. The very next day, they told my auditor there was a counter offer of 1.85 million. So my first instinct said to me, Craig, somebody is playing the fool with me. He said, do you want to go further? I said, okay, let's lift the offer to 2 million rand. We made a physical offer to the liquidators for 2 million rand. And a few days later, there was a counter offer of 2.15 million.
Now hang on. This is your property that's worth 3.5 million that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So just to clarify here, you went to see the top guy in Standard Bank, and he accepted the offer of 2.5 million to clear all the shit with Standard Bank, but the local Port Elizabeth manager said no, and then you came to an agreement of 1.8 million, which basically covered what they wanted. But someone out of the blue, who you don't know who it was, suddenly put in a counter offer because they realized the property was worth 3.5 million. Have I got that right?
That's right. Now, I don't think there was somebody else. I think that was just a ghost buyer to stuff me around, because I never saw a physical offer. It was never.
Don't you think perhaps the Standard Bank manager thought he would be able to pick up that property for half the price?
But possibly be, I don't know, Scott. In any case,
so anyway, so what happened? You're now up to 2.15 million rand for a property worth 3.5 million. So what happened then?
I offered off my highest offer was 2 million.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, there was one for 2.15. That never materialized. The property was never sold. And I still said to Ian Duplessis, the manager that I went to see, the college manager at Standard Bank, I said, please, I want to buy my property back. When you guys have made a decision, my offer is 2 million rand.
Yeah.
Please let me know. Okay? They never came back to me. Then later on, Karen that works for Jolene Brown said, no, the property is going to go on auction. And will we go to the auction? I said to my wife, I refuse. I don't want to go because they're playing with the fool with me. And then my wife persuaded me and Uncle Jay that we must go to the auction. And that morning, there was other stuff that happened before that, with the sheriff being there, the previous guy that was going to buy Jan Gerber, and he was evicted, and there was money outstanding. And when the sheriff got there, we were there the next day for the sheriff's auction. All of a sudden, no, the guy paid the money. So there's a lot of things that happen there that I don't understand, Scott, and I don't think I'll ever understand.
Right.
But let's go back to the auction.
Yeah.
So my wife is with me, and my CEO, Uncle Jay Killian, is there, and my wife is actually the one that asked the auctioneer, Galpin, Mr. Galpin from, what's his name? Crossstate. From Crossstate, is there a reserve price on the property? And he said it is a no-reserve auction. So there went a lot of people, about, let's say, 5-6 people there, and they started at 300,000 rand, and 800,000 rand, Uncle Jay got involved. And the final bid was on us for 1.2 million. My wife started crying because she's happy. My current wife, not I'm making like my second wife. And she started crying because she's happy with getting the property back. And then Jolene Brown, the liquidator, said, don't get happy. Standard Bank won't accept this offer. And that's a no-reserve auction. And then, long story short, I asked Standard Bank for my statements for quite a few years, and I was waiting for the statements. And I only received it just before lockdown, maybe a week or two, just before lockdown in South Africa. We received a statement from Ian Duplessis, and then we made an appointment. I wanted to see him, and then they couldn't see me because it was lockdown procedures. We never had contact after that. And then that was that. And then I got a notification, when was it, in 2022? Was it 2022? Or 21 when they notified me? In 2021, they notified me that the place had been sold and transferred on the new owner's name on February 2021 for 1.55 million.
Now, hang on. You went to an auction at the highest bid where there was no reserve.
At 1.2 million.
At 1.3 million, and
No,
the bank then refused to accept that, and then
Yeah,
the property gets sold to someone for 1.55 million when it's worth 3.5 million, and it's actually originally your property.
It was my property, and then on the 2.85 I paid, I still bought a transformer, 500 kilowatt transformer separately, which is a lot of value if you think how much energy that is. And then I still built the shed up as well.
Okay, so look, I just because this has been a long and complicated story, and it's all led up to this point with Standard Bank and this property that you've got. So just to clarify, what happened was that you originally paid 3.5 million rand for the property we're talking about here. You put down you put down a deposit of 1 million rand, and the bank then loaned you the balance. Now,
1.85.
Yeah, 1.85. Well, that comes to 2.85, not 3.5 million. What happened to the other? What happened to the other 650,000?
Sorry, I lost that one.
Okay, you paid 3.5 million for the property.
It was valued at 2.5.
Ah, okay. So basically, you paid 2.65 million for it.
I paid 2.85 for it.
Okay, all right. Well, that's close enough.
Cash down.
Okay, so you've now got title deeds for the property, even though the title deed would be held by the bank because of the loan that they've given you. And then what happens, just to cut to the chase, is you have these discussions where you agree to pay up to 2 million rand for the property at the bank, and they then reject that. And then they have a no reserve auction where you go to the auction, you are the successful bidder at 1.3 million rand, and
1.2.
What was it, 1.3 or 1.2?
No, 1.2. 2 million. 1.2.
1.2 million, and
yeah.
The bank then rejects that, even though it's a proper formulated auction and there's no reserve. And they then go and sell it to someone else for 1.55 million rand.
Quite a few years later.
But why didn't you chase it up between actually, getting the bid at 1.2 million? Why didn't you just pay the money and say, okay, now it's mine?
Wouldn't accept it.
Ah, so so when you tried to pay it, they said, no, we're not accepting it.
We won't accept it because they're rejecting the offer. They rejected the 2 million rand offer, and they just blocked me. Ian du Plessis, I told him how many times my witness is lying down here. I said to him, Ian, if you ever want to sell the property, please let me know. That is my offer. But I remember now how many years we started in 2017. Trying to buy the property back. And then the auction was in 2018, 2019, and it was only sold in 2021. And they supposedly had security there. They ransacked the whole place, and the security there on the place were, I speak because of fluency, there were two blacks, and I said, where were you guys trained? No, we're not trained. They stopped us here walking down the street and asked if we want work, and we're looking over the property. That was the security there.
Wow. Okay.
And,
so
that was carried off.
Who bought the property?
I don't know what the guy's name is. It's a black guy apparently from Joburg. He bought it through my roof. The Standard Bank's advertising agency on the internet. That's what they told me.
For 1.55 million rand.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, is there anything else you can tell me about that sale that you haven't mentioned?
Well, Scott, all I can say, I was blocked. They refused to sell the property back to me. Whoever was involved in that. Yeah, I mean, to give you an indication, I went to Sudan McCloud, Darlene Brown's a lawyer. I went to Paul Bester in P. I went to Tian Labuskafny in P. Who? Yeah, he's from Schreibensteins. I went to see Honey Lawyers in Bloemfontein. He's Rudolf Brits.
Yeah.
I went to John Smuts, a very big lawyer company down in Cape Town. And my last turn was by, what's it? No? Ben Brody and Grahamson, they're very well-renowned lawyers. Johan knows them well. And the lawyer said to me, Martin, you've got a very strong case, but your case is expired. You can't do anything. And that's my state that I wanted to open it against the state. I went all over, Scott. I was just ran into a brick wall with the lawyers. There's nothing.
Yeah, well, all the lawyers are on retainers to the bank, so they're not going to take them on.
Yeah, well, Tian Duplessis, Tian Labuskafny, actually, I don't think he was meant to tell me that. One day it slipped out, he said, yeah, but Standard Bank is his biggest client. So I knew, what the hell, what's not? I got a lawyer representing me against his own biggest client.
Yeah, well, that is the problem. That is one of the core problems in South Africa. All right. Look, Martin, thank you so much for joining us and telling us your story. I will be putting this up live tomorrow night. This is a pre-recording. But yeah, look, the final piece of the puzzle that we have at the end is very disturbing. Just in closing up or wrapping up, how has this impacted your life and obviously your new wife?
It destroyed me completely. I was always a very optimistic and what do you call it? Self-confidence. It really destroyed me. To give you an indication, Sundays River Valley is SRCC. I attended on a job there. It was at that time the biggest BE contract for citrus farming in Southern Africa or South Africa. And then the manager, one of the managers stood up and said, I'm a threat to BE, I'm not allowed to tender. So my financial capacity has been completely destroyed. I don't get any work anywhere. I'm a political risk. According to white people, very few black people has ever questioned me, ever.
Yeah.
If any black. In any case, the black family, as I said prior, the Konzapi family, I'm still in contact with the mother. The father died. I'm still in contact with the whole family. Basically, every month we speak, and I find out how they are and stuff like that. Blacks look up to me. They ask me for advice.
Yeah.
But I've got the stigma stuck to me. I can't get any work. I can't upgrade my machines. That's why I can't get more work. I'm a service provider, so when you're a service provider, you try and get your equipment as good as possible to give the best service possible to your client.
Yeah.
And it's a service-based industry in construction. And I don't have that opportunity. I was flatly rejected by Standard Bank. And there's, as I said, Johan written them, they're busy investigating the dots. And they're busy lining up who's all involved in this. I think this thing is a much bigger picture than what I thought in the beginning. Because if I was just a terrorist, I would have been locked up in jail, left dead to rot.
Well, look, I get that. That's obviously there's something very sinister behind that, especially your poisoning.
I'm not prosecuted. I don't have a criminal record.
Yeah, but are you still blacklisted by Standard Bank?
I'm blacklisted by Standard Bank.
Still.
But I don't have a criminal record in South Africa, even with all the cases that they made against me. They reclaimed my weapons. I've got my legal licenses for my weapons. So how can you just destroy somebody's life for 2 years and just walk away from it?
Yeah, that's very, very sad. All right. Well, look, Martin, this will go to air tomorrow, and look, just keep in touch with Marlena, my PA.
Okay.
And if there are further developments, we'll get you back to give us an update. How's that?
Okay, no problem, Scott. And thank you so much for what you're doing. And you guys must stay safe. And blessings here from South Africa, and keep up the good work.
Thank you. And you take care, and have a great evening, and just say hi to your new wife for me, and give her a big hug,
Okay.
because life, there's one wonderful thing about when you hit rock bottom, and that is that there's only one way you can go, and that's back up again. So,
Yeah, Scott, I just wish that people can humble themselves and really become what we are. We're supposed to be good people, caring for each other, not destroying each other.
I get
But
it.
yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, you take care, Martin.
Okay.
Bye for now.
Okay, you take. Bye. Bye.
All right, guys, that was my discussion with Martin Keevy, regarding how Standard Bank basically stole his property by refusing to sell it to him. I mean, that offer of 2 million rand more than covered the loan that he had, and they just said no. You wonder what actually goes on within the banking system, don't you? But anyway, don't forget tomorrow night. Tomorrow night we have a very, very interesting subject. We're going to be talking about hitmen. Hitmen in South Africa. The guys who take out whistleblowers and people that the ANC government don't like. They are actually paid by these cartels, including one in Eskom. So that's a discussion tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Johannesburg time. I'm going to go out tonight with Hier Bly Ek Boer. Have a great evening and see you tomorrow night. Bye for now.
Meer as 61.000 van ons voorvaders het op die grens vir ons gesterwe, sodat ons vry kan wees. Die is my land, die is my reg, hier is ek boer. Van stof is ek gemaak en sal ek terugkeer. Die Bybel is die woord waaruit ek leer, soos die grond op die aarde. Hier bly ek boer. So diep in die nacht sal die vyand kom, maar hier bly ek staan en ek draai nie om, want jy maak my nie bang nie. Hier bly ek boer. Die is my land waarvoor ek sal veg. Die is my bloed, my sweet, my reg. Die is die plek waar my voorvaders leef. Die is my land, hoor wat ek jou sê. Die is my land, wat my mense voer. Hier bly ek boer. Soos blaasom in die somer wat vreugde bring, my oupa wat maniekie roek kon sing, soos hy stap deur die lande, hier was hy boer. My wortels lê diep in die grond geplant, my seun soos my pa los ek vir jou die land, en jy hoef nie te vrees nie, hier sal jy boer. Die is my land waarvoor ek sal veg. Die is my bloed, my sweet, my reg. Die is die plek waar my voorvaders leef. Die is my land, hoor wat ek jou sê. Die is my land, wat my mense voer. Hier bly ek boer. Die leeu sal kom, 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 die leeu sal kom.